In the 1960s and 70s, you know, a lot of times, when they talked to Judo, and he said, he didn't understand why they had an agenda about homosexuality and different things and stuff, because he's a human being. He's not a god. Okay. And he's just a very humble and intelligent human being that is a source of faithful communication that a lot of people throughout time focus on. Okay. Which is a very significant individual. All right. And it's neat. I like watching a lot of stuff, but like he tells me all the time, Earl, you get it. You don't have to listen. And the important thing is just that we live life, free from delusions of human power and authority. That way, you have freedom from selfishness and egotistical conflict. Remember, he had that conversation with those scientists. If you after listening to all this, you as a human being, why don't you change? And looking at this refrigerator thing with the ice maker thing, we shoved two uh, uh, washcloths and covered it with tape on our ice maker because Dad left a croissant breakfast sandwich in the ice maker thing, and it ruined it because it was laying air out. And since we've shoved the two washcloths in and covered the tape, we've had the refrigerator's been running a lot more efficiently. We're like, God, I wish you would have done that like 10 years ago. So I didn't notice it. I went and I pushed the thing, and I went, shit. And but it does have the little opening thing, and it's just a little piece of plastic in it, And so I'm like, oh, okay. So those, and like Suzuki would tell me, and I sit there and go, well, they would know that that's not a intelligent thing to put on the appliance, and that it's very inefficient, but it's to sell more appliances. And I thought, dang, and the energy consumption and things like that. So when you are in the business of economics, like the thing that they had on that Polymarket thing with the bets on the LA fires, and that people would do things to extend the fires to win a bet, or to win a, and that's true, like what happens with sports and gambling and things like that, and Shoeless Joe Jackson and the Suns and the Spurs and so on and so forth. And so when you incorporate manipulation into reality, it distorts any actual mathematical applications of perfection, of real, of honoring natural laws and obeying natural laws. And so, it's just watching this goofy episode of Big Bang Theory where Sheldon's got the virtual presence thing and all that stuff, and it's funny, but it's not, because it's irrational and it's unrealistic, and it's very, it's not borderline insanity. It's insane. Okay. And like the whole thing with they had the thing I watched with the Alan Watts, about that you this and you don't really die, and it's technically you know your essence provides life to a physical body. It requires life sacrifice to exist. Okay. And you do die. And there's, because of manipulation of matter and manipulation of reproduction, there's not always a guarantee, okay, that you will have a physical body to continue to experience an eternal existence through the flesh. Okay. Because we know that with genetic splicing, that we went from this population to that population and so on and so forth. And so the splicing does make things more erratic psychologically and intellectually. And we're very aware of that because it's due to aggressiveness, selfishness, and panic. And so it's not interesting. It gets depressing and quite sad. Tonight I was listening to the basketball game, and they have a young man that used to play football here that played for the Green Bay Packers and the Jaguars, named Devon House. And two of his kiddos have non-verbal autistic qualities, because of the stress and the toxins in the environment and the excessive compulsive behaviors through the technology. Okay. And two. Okay. He has 3 kids, and 2 of them are nonverbal autistic. And should not have happened to a kid. And Devon and his wife have to have conditions to where they have a lot of extra time, and this if these kind of conditions persist, and there's no chance to have the brain heal or recover from the conditions, that this may require a lifetime of assistance for these young people, even when they get older, to properly be able to function through irrational, competitive, selfish economic exploitation and manipulation. So that's it's horrible to do to people. And so I can't say for sure that once we limit the Wi-Fi to emergency and necessary applications, and then go back to cable for certain kinds of communications, and then have things like public access to music or whatever. Cinema and reading are radically overrated. It's more important to be able to talk and communicate and comprehend lovingly and intelligently, logically with reason. And the reading is radically overrated. It's a projection of over-exaggerated self-importance. And no, I'm not saying that about my dad writing that book. My dad wrote that book because he wasn't getting results from his reading, and it wasn't fulfilling itself. There was a lot of correctness in his reading, but it's not coming to fruition, and people won't allow it to be so. And that's why he wrote the book, The Nervous God. Okay. And it was very distressful and puzzling and abusive to him, because he's the biological father of the man who's like Adam Moses David John in the 20th and 21st century. Okay. So there's definitely extenuating circumstances to his feeling he has to write this book, and it has to be understood, and we have to change, as opposed to Eckhart Tolle writing a book, or or somebody writing their memoirs because of their amazing philanthropist life, right? And so I am the focal point of stopping abuse through manipulation, through economics and technology. And so, I have to, I'm a human being, so I still get very stressed, when I see these commercials about these kids with cancer. And my mom was murdered with her cancer treatment to make me be vicious towards my father, who accepted the religion as the home team salvation and stuff that was incorporated years ago, and that, made Rockefeller hate Charlton Heston so much, and from what I get in my prayers, in my understanding. I finally, I told Dad, he was the one who told me the most and confessed the most about all the it's all a tax write-off. They're all a bunch of liars and they're murderers and they'll gladly kill over me. The Salvation fucking Army, Catholic fucking social services, and he hated them all. And yeah. And then finally I told him, I said, Dad, I think he had the resources and the capacity to trend me globally, but I think his desire to get revenge and kill his enemies was far greater than his desire to live the peace of my faith. And people must have done horrible things to him because he probably did horrible things to them. And that's probably why we're still in this clusterfuck of insanity. Watching, things about gut health and putting chemicals in your body instead of stopping irrational economic activities and restoring our ecosystem through truly faithfully loving one another. And, don't go on a high Hawaiian roller coaster ride, guys. Surfing, as far as sports go, I guess if you want to, you can, but there are other things, maybe we could come up with ways to simulate it, to do it, like get a big spur for something. I don't know, but it's a very, it can be very dangerous. It can get you killed. And, I think when we get together and exercise and do sports, like especially like with football, that we take out, it's tackle football, not hit football. And when I play my video games, a lot of the animations of the hits and watching these kids and the way they get ready, and you're like, and why don't they, there's no penalty every time I get my quarterback out of bounds, and they beat the shit out of my quarterback out of bounds and in the end zone. Okay, so it's just bad brain activity all the way around. And I'm living it. What is her name? Little girl on the L'Oreal commercials that was married to Tony Parker. I can't remember her name. It's like right. I can't remember her name, but yeah, I cannot remember her name. That's interesting. But there's the little virtual presence robot thing. You guys got to understand that, I think in the future when we sit and, I don't know, will people be watching Friends anymore, or MASH or Big Bang Theory? When money's no longer an issue and money's not used to manipulate us and to have people have delusions of power and influence, through their manipulation. I don't understand why they're still doing stuff with their money and why they think that, it's actually going to continue to be perpetuated and manipulated, not with technology heading towards where it needs to be to help us sustain our environment through the natural laws given by the true essence of reality. And so I can't tell you, the only thing I can think of is that Rockefeller, like I said, he was more intent on, he's not like me and Diana Ross. Half the words she said to me were missing because my mind was so intent on kissing. I thought it took a little time to learn. You're not like us. Okay. I'm just kidding around. But, yeah, he had a vindictiveness in him that just could not be corrected. And he's one of the main architects that set up this genocidal game or trap or whatever you want to call it. And I was the one, let's not do this. Let's just use the technology to share the perfection of the, and all this stuff. I mean, it's the whole thing with Mayim Bialik and Jim Parsons. It's not funny anymore. I watch it and I laugh and I'm somewhat amused, but then I sit there and think, no, this is just training to make you think that, these people that have virtual presence in your house that are programming you to accept their perception when their perception is incorrect and inadequate. And it's not cool. You got to remember that these kids are well, she's a neuroscientist. All that they joke about it, what they do with the animals, and it's not funny. It's psychotic and dysfunctional, but it's passed off as an intellectual, superior, elite form of interaction to help us live better lives, which is not true. Well, anybody in their right mind could see it. I guess. I love you, all right? Peace out.